The thing was, all we could see was that the only thing most people do with their lives is try to afford to be alive. My conclusion was that if you can afford it, you worry about staying alive to enjoy it. Look what happened to Onassis and the Kennedys, together even. It was typically middle class of us to think that we were the worst off of all. Caught between those two Greek things, Scylla and the Caribbean, labour and luxury, work and consciousness, the twin horrors of the second generation bourgeoisie, cursed our everything, courtesy of the education our parents bought us. The only thing I ever learned is that anything is better than working in a job you don't want, which is nearly any job at all. But when you don't have a job, you never do the things you spent those office hours dreaming of, because now you haven't got any money anymore. Like me and Dan just then, unoccupied but not exactly challenging fate either. Dan couldn't make it off the bed most days, and I had taken to mostly living at night, because the way I saw it, very little danger of accidentally getting a job in the middle of the night. I'd had that dream again last night. I had to drive across town, drive someone somewhere in an emergency, or drive to a hospital or something, except I can't drive. Not in the dream or real life. So I get in the car and I put it in gear and the car starts, and suddenly I'm somehow not in the car, but I'm still driving it. I'm standing there, I can steer it as far as I can see it, but when it gets too far away or goes around a corner, I can't see it, but I'm still in control of it, but I can't stop it. Next day I was feeling kind of left out of society, so I think I'll go and get a job. This was about as quick as usual. I dropped a principal and picked a new one. I mean, sitting around doing nothing was okay when I had something to do, like study, but now I don't have anything else to do, and so I don't have an excuse. I wasn't exactly defying anything, doing nothing. Time to grow up and get out there and get a job and all that stuff, I told myself, imaginatively. Smoking cigarettes wasn't looking like a long-term career path, and the pub wasn't hiring intellectuals at the time. I needed to work. It was Daniel's influence, if somebody with no discernible will can do something so concrete as influence. He'd been going to interviews and things for a couple of weeks already, while I typed shit in my bedroom and refused to think. I guess when you have an expensive drug habit like Dan, the motivation to get a job is stronger than when it's just the next typewriter ribbon you're worried about. I hadn't had a proper job in quite a while, ever, in fact, so the change wasn't exactly going to be gradual. Checking the job columns was like leafing through a list of potential epitaphs before my own funeral. The words rang of death and nothingness, instead of just the nothingness I was living through. How could anyone actually want a job, I wondered, listening to my stomach rumble and not catching the connection? Little jobs, big jobs, long jobs and short jobs, good jobs and bad jobs, but most of all, jobs I didn't want, because they're jobs, after all, and I don't like working. It eats into my sleep and drinking, you know. Doing something sounded like too much of a strain after just being for so long. It was a major existential shift I was contemplating, moving from a world of a single, fixed, permanent state to a universe of change and activity. Some Greeks said existence was flux, or is flux, depending if you believe him, I suppose, and there was my problem. I was more interested in passive definitions than active activity, and that's another problem. I talk rubbish. All this had weakened my resolve, so I made some peanut butter and Marmite sandwiches and retired to my large chair and Daniel's erratic TV. Nothing's on, which comforts me no end.